Hello, my friends. Been a while. Apologies. There's been a lot of preparation for this video, which will be an audit of our inventory before going to Silent Assassin suit only. There's a few things to mention first, though. One is that it's very hot, and my tongue's kind of dried out, which is not. This kind of sounds bad, but it just kind of hurts a bit, is all. To note that. Then there's the fact about the preparation I've done. I've got a long list of notes here. And a lot of what I'm going to say is lore about Hitman. But a lot of it also is not necessarily... maybe I shouldn't say necessarily. Some of it is not official lore, it's like inference. So it's more like a headcanon than a actual lore, but you'll see, I think it's fair enough, a lot of the inferences I make in my notes. Gives it more colour anyways. I don't know how long this is going to be, and I'm also going to probably edit this a way I've not done before, so exactly when this comes out I'm not too sure still. I think that would be enough. One small thing I'll mention is that I think there'll be one more episode of Lawns of Law before it takes a break, and I'm going to be doing the James Bond game Last Light, I think. First Light, not Last Light. First Light, when that comes out, I'll be on that. I'll be doing stuff on that. So that will take the place of Lawns of Loon when that Lawns Lure when that comes out, which is soon. I think with that we can start this now. First up is the Bartoli 75S Lucky Knight. This is the gun we got from the Resident Evil mission. I forget what the mission's called actually. I got such a long notes here and I didn't note that, which is kind of odd. Anyway, so this is based on a Beretta 8000 Cougar, which I'll probably have up on screen now. This one is going to be a custom made one though, and it has 13 rounds in it, which is the kind of unlucky number, so it fits the name. I don't know. I feel like I was actually going to do more research into this one, which I didn't end up doing, but that's okay though. There's been enough preparation. I'm not going to delay it anymore. But it does resemble a Resident Evil gun, the Samurai Edge, which is used by the Special Response Team in Resident Evil. I don't know if I have a picture of that actually, but that's fine. Some of these are going to get a bit more in detail than others. Anyway, this is the custom 5mm. It is designed around the PSS. Wait, that sounds like I know it's a gun, but it sounds like the we put at the end of a letter. No. It also looks more like a compact pistol. I believe I should have both the PSS and the compact pistol on screen. Then this is quite a good weapon actually, because it is concealable. It says here, ergonomically designed to pass pat-downs and frisking attempts. Now that is very useful because you can bring a gun into higher security areas without even needing to sneak in, really. You can walk in and bring this in now. I've written here that it's reminiscent of a secret agent weapon. It's a caseless weapon. He uses caseless ammunition, which is a very high-tech mechanism, or whatever. Like it's a high-tech design. Now, it is very low forensic fingerprint. Like it's no cases means there's no there's no loose cases after you shoot, right? So there's a less left behind for forensics to look into. It also comes from Hokkaido, which now I do use a lot of throughout this. I do use a lot of thinking of it relates to where you get it in a way of like Agent 47 goes to a mission, then after the mission he writes a report or something, and he basically says, I need a weapon like this, I need a gadget like this, I need this or that, to try to not have the same issue in a similar situation in the future, for example, in this case. So Hokkaido is very high security. They use RFID chips in all the uniforms of everyone, even the patients. There's guards everywhere. There's AI keeping track of everything. And so having a gun like this, which you can just walk through, you don't need to sneak it past any checkpoint or anything, you can just walk through. It does make sense that he would come up with the idea that this is necessary after the Hokkaido mission. So that's, I'm really not used to doing this again. I mean, last time it's been a few days actually. Anyways, so Hokkaido, high security. Afterwards, he writes a report. I need a gun that gets through high security, no problem, no hassle. Makes a lot of sense. Now, because it's caseless, they figured it out. They made it caseless. Okay, you cannot pick up caseless ammunition in a mission. No one else has caseless ammunition. Firstly, secondly, it's not designed to be easily reloadable anyways. Even if you could pick up any caseless ammunition, it's not easily reloadable anyways. It needs a whole machinery to do it, or something like this, you know. So this is not able to be reloaded by Agent 47 mid-mission. Okay, this is the Hawk 21. I'm going to pronounce it Hawk. I've made the decision. I'm pronouncing it Hawk. Hawk 21. Now, I never know how to pronounce this because it's German. I may need to get the symbol or something, or written down on a gun that they've made, but Hackler and Koch. It's not Koch. I know it's not Koch, but it's German. It's Koch. Something like that. Which is H and K, right? H and K. That's more the English way, I guess. H and K is a actual manufacturer, right? And it's H ampersand K, right? And so here it's HWK, so it's very similar in that way, but the gun itself resembles a Walther PPQ in this case. Now, I should have the one that's white on screen now, and because I prepared all this before even recording, so that should be there. Now, he put this spray can on himself. Now, how do I say? I've got a lot of notes actually on this. This is the first one I've got a lot of kind of headcanon stuff going on here that I'm just reading. Okay, so this is what I write about him manufacturing a suppressor out of a spray can in like this really important moment in the story, right? So I wrote this. It's very symbolic of the nature of Agent 47, even without the connection of the ICA, even without them making him bespoke weapons and gadgets. He has the mind and ability to turn even a spray can to his usage, and with limited supplies, to be able to make it himself. So he's very dangerous despite not having the supplies outside from like the ICA or something. Now, it being improvised emphasizes in a subtle way the okay, this is interesting. The improvised makeshift nature of this weapon, especially the silencer, the suppressor on it, is Agent 47 being a killer, but with the will to survive and improvising in difficult moments. In the story, that absolutely is exactly how that plays out, so that does make sense. I'm going to have a drink here. I have one with me, but I'll leave it just a moment. Now, we're on to the Hawk 21, which is the same, but without the white color and the spray can suppressor. Okay, so I wrote that it's similar to the other one, minus the silencer. It resembles H&K, the name, but it's Walther PPQ. In-game security forces, mercenaries, armed guards. That's what you would expect to have them. It's a modular type of gun here, but it's fairly standard. That's kind of what I've written about that. Okay, now this one definitely has some stuff written up about it. Okay, so ICA produced ICA DTI Stealth. Maybe Beretta manufactured. That is Bartoli in game, I guess. It's not clear what DTI means. I've written here it could mean, because it's a stealth kind of focused design, it could mean discreet tactical infiltration. That's what I've got here. But it could mean anything. I couldn't find anything really saying what it means. It seems it's not common use, and it's probably more modern. Don't know why I said that. I can't remember now. Anyways, going straight on to the next one. This is gonna take forever. I just realised. That's kind of the point, though. It's okay. It is similar to the 1911, So this is ICA 19, right? 19, similar to the 1911. Now, it's made by the ICA. It's kind of like the silver ballers from the older games, but obviously modern and just polymer kind of build, black steel polymer, and probably the default kind of gear of new agents. And it's fitting that you start like that because I don't know if that. I think I. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let me keep going with what I was saying. It makes sense that you start with. Okay, so. Just realized something about that, but that's okay. Gonna try to reorganize this a second. Hold on. I'm gonna have to hold my notes here, I think. Didn't want to have to hold on, but anyway, okay. Getting back to what I was saying, it makes sense that you start with him having the ICA 19, the default agent gear, because you kind of start like a default agent. Could you go through training and then you just go into a mission not really knowing what you're doing? Anyway, that makes sense. Next one, Black Trinity's version. So it is the ICA 19, but designed a bit more blacked out and everything. You can see the insignia on the suppressor there at the end of the suppressor. Now I go into the insignia a bit here, but I will mention that the Black Trinity is a part of a set, which I'm going to talk about at a later point in this. I'm going to get my drink and then I'm going to talk about the insignia here. You see, I like kind of leaving stuff mostly uncut. I mean, where I can. So I probably leave this stuff in. Now, okay, so my drink is a lemonade. Okay. So the Hitman insignia, let's talk about this. Hitman insignia, it was found on Agent 47's gear, and it seems to be from the Clone Project. Instead of having a name, the Clone Project was so secret, it used a symbol instead, which was this insignia. Again, this is kind of the headcanon explanation of this by me here. The gear the clones would use would have this insignia, and maybe so that the gear was tagged in a similar way that the clones were tagged with barcode. I'm hearing my brother shouting downstairs. Hopefully that doesn't get picked up. Okay. He seems to then have adopted the insignia, basically as his own symbol. A lot of S sounds on that. Okay. I think we kind of know what's going on with the insignia. Basically, he had this symbol because he was a clone, and it was on all of his clothes and his gear he was using or whatever. Then later he basically destroys the whole project and it was just completely failed at that point. And after that, he kind of adopted the symbol as his own symbol. Now, I think this Black Lily version, it does actually have this insignia as well, which I think it is actually on the gun rather than the suppressor. Don't know if you can quite see that, but I believe that's it there. Now this is basically just a slightly more modified version of the normal ICA 19, so not too much really to say about it. You know, comfort, sort of grip on it, whatever, simple. Now the chrome though, I've got a lot more to say about the chrome, so okay, so the chrome is probably ceremonial. Now it could be Agent 47's kind of dabbling with design, maybe. Kind of hard to say, but I can mention this. So the suppressor has an engraving. It's really hard to see. You probably can't see it on the video, but it is there. And it says Whisper Model 4 in Roman numerals, Ouroboros Arms Tech Caliber .452. Now, I'm going to go through this now. Whisper is like a model line of a suppressor, that makes sense. But then here, Ouroboros is the snake eating its own tail, and I kind of say, because it's an ICA made pistol, the modifications are likely also made by the ICA, not necessarily, but I do kind of say that because it would make sense considering what I continue to say here. So the ICA own the manufacturer, let's go with this, okay? But this manufacturer is called Ouroboros, which is the snake eating its own tail. So then they are kind of saying that their endings are new beginnings. When they kill targets, they make things possible, or new opportunities possible, or other things begin. Now, this is a hint at a corporate ethos of the ICA, where they don't want agents thinking on moral terms, because they want it to seem really difficult to know whether it was right or wrong, or whether the outcome would be better or worse if they kill or do not kill a target, because they want the agents focused on the job and trying to convince them to accept that they can't grasp the complexities helps with that. So then the agents don't waste their time and they just do the job, and they just kind of accept whatever, they're just a part of fate or something, and they just don't think too deeply beyond that. Now, whoops. The 4 Auto ICA 19. Now this is an ICA 19, but it's fully automatic. What a great note, definitely. Okay. Okay, it seems to come from Marrakesh mission, which makes sense because that's full of soldiers. You're basically up against soldiers. You're having to take on like a military camp, basically. So it makes sense that you would use the same sort of gun you're used to using, but it's fully automatic. having to move the mic rather than myself this time. Because this is kind of the more natural position for me. And I don't really... See, the thing is then I've probably been loud so far, but that's... And this is going to probably be the more normal level, so... You may want to readjust the volume at this point. Okay. I think I've basically said what I need to say about the full auto. The only other thing is that it's not silenced like the others. That's the only other thing to mention, really. ICA 19 Gold Baller is the ICA 19, but it's gold. If you can believe that. Now, it seems to come from the Mendoza mission because he creates it in the Mendoza mission, and then after he has hallucinations about gold and everything being made of gold and weapons are gold and people were wearing gold. He's wearing a gold suit. Everything's just gold. And it's interesting because Agent 47 really uses a silver baller, and so here a gold baller is like a corruption of how he is, of what he uses, which kind of plays into his loss of identity around the story about how he kind of built it up in the ICA, and then the Mendoza mission is kind of ending that in some way. Okay. Now, ICA 19 full auto stealth, so it's the full auto, but with a suppressor. This is the Ducky edition, which I'm going to get to here. Okay, so this is the full auto with a suppressor, and it has a rubber ducky design. Now, he seems to have made... Okay. He seems to have made this ducky motif for himself because he's fond of rubber duckies. Now, let's get into why he is fond of rubber duckies. So, if we go back through the games to Codename 47, in that he goes back to the asylum to find the lab and then the doctor in there, who is Dr. Almighty, who is his creator. Now, when he goes back, he needs to figure out how to get into the lab. To do that, he needs to save Agent Smith. To do that, he gets help from some patients, and he gives them different gifts that they want, and he gives them a teddy bear, which is kind of normal for Skeleton Asylum patient. It's not too unusual. Gives them a book to another one. Again, it's fairly normal. And he gives a rubber ducky to one, which is a bit more unusual. Okay, then he saves Agent Smith, goes to the secret lab, kills his replacements, because there was Agent 48 after him, and then he kills his creator. Now, I'm going to stop just for a moment because there's the moment with the patient where he gives the rubber ducky to him, and he remembers that a lot because it's kind of odd with the rubber ducky. It's kind of an odd gift he wants. Now, there, as I'm saying, that then leads basically to him saving Agent Smith, which is directly what he needs to do in order to get to the lab, which is what he needs to do to get to Dr. Altmaier, who is his creator, in order to kill him. And so that's a slaying the father kind of a moment. That's how I've written it here, which is kind of like a, in like Greek mythology and things like that, they have like a god killing a titan, and then a titan killing someone else or something like this. But they're all sons killing the father, basically. And that kind of has a symbolic meaning. But in this case, what I write about symbolic meaning is that he's free. It's like a final contract from Dr. Altmaier, because it's kind of odd. Dr. Altmaier gets a contract in order to kill himself, so that Agent 47 comes back to him, and then he tries to convince him, don't do the contract and whatever, like, I'm gonna do tests on you and we're gonna figure out this cloning stuff or something like that, basically. And he does not care about that in the end, Agent 47, and he just kills him anyways. And so then that is like the final order basically from Dr. Altmaier, and after that he's kind of completely just himself. He decides if he does things or not after that. I mean, he does in a sense, even with the contract, but it's still in a way an order from Dr. Altmaier. And then that's it, that's the end. Because he killed him, right? So he can't get another order from Dr. Altmaier after that. And then the rubber ducky then comes up a few times afterwards, shortly after that as well, so it does have a lot of significance to him then getting out of the lab after killing Altmaier. It comes to, there was a mystery guy who has some relevance to trying to go after Agent 47, which he kind of interacts with a rubber ducky. It's kind of hard to look into some of this actually, but for sure the rubber ducky plays a big role in this whole moment of him kind of being free from his creator, feeling like he's completely independent in a sense. And then after that, it has a deeper meaning for him as being like a freeing thing. Now onto the Red Trinity. So here I write that it is a part of the Trinity set, the Red Trinity set. And I write that basically each set has a different meaning about his life, I guess. And the story plays into that a lot. And so the red one is like the middle period where he starts questioning the ICA. So that's him being bold. He's still like blood, because there's a lot of killing which isn't contracted during this section. This is like really when he goes into doing stuff that isn't contracted. He's killing people, but it's not for like some ICA contract. It's not because he's being paid to do it. He's doing it to do it. So it's different. So it's blood like in that way, but it's also being bold because he starts to go against the system in a way that he was a part of. That is. Okay, so IC-19 short baller. Now this is like a silver baller, but it isn't silver. Now it's short, and so it's called a short baller and not a silver baller, because it's not silver, it is short, and so it's a short baller, not a silver baller. Now it seems to be based off of some of the weapons at Dartmoor, because they've got wooden kind of frames or wooden grips on them, and it seems that he saw that and he either wanted a design similar or he thought there was some use to it, because it is quite compact, so it maybe is functional. But whatever the case, after Dartmoor he gets this. Okay, so there's something about the weapons in Dartmoor or something. He got the short ball. Okay, so Silver Baller Mark II. Because we're doing this snaking thing, we're going to the Mark II before the original. But that's fine. Now this is based on the Silver Ballers, which is the one we're going to go to next. And I'm gonna make this moment less about the silver ballers, because that's going to be the next item, and I'm going to focus more on the pink sticker and the Mark II kind of lore. So the pink sticker, like in the lore, seems to kind of mean, you know, low effort or unseen upgrades or some stuff like that. In the lore, it kind of seems to kind of be, oh, all they've done is they've changed the look, and it's basically been unchanged, and the look is basically exactly the same, right? And so it's like phoning it in and all that sort of stuff. But I'm going to go into kind of outside of the lore bit to go into the deeper meaning that's beyond even the game. Because after the first Hitman game in the trilogy, IY were going to be dropped by Square Enix. They kind of left on a certain deal or whatever. They kind of spoke to each other, Square Enix and IO Interactive, and they agreed the terms of how they would split. And so IO Interactive kept the Hitman IP and everything, and they ended up being an independent publisher and developer, just completely independent. Now, for the second game in the trilogy, they worked with Warner Bros. I think. I actually don't have a note on that, but I believe they worked on Warner Bros. With Warner Bros. During this period, though, there were loads of layoffs. It was really kind of like not sure if it would end well, let's say. And what happened was that in the second game, the cutscenes way scaled back. They were not 3D animated, high fidelity cutscenes like they were in the first game. They were instead a sort of non-animated, simple motion, comic book kind of a design. Like it was way lower. I don't know how you say lower after that, but the point is that they scaled way back on a lot of stuff like that. They focused just on the gameplay, on making the maps and all the items and everything, which, because of the way the balancing works, they kind of needed to re-release a lot of items. They would just make them exactly the same with the pink sticker now. Because that was this transition period, which was really fraught with a lot of unlikely positives in the outcomes. But ultimately it was successful. I mean, ultimately they had success with the second game. They had more success with the third game. I think when they actually converted the trilogy into kind of a singular thing with the third game, it was even more successful. And so the sticker kind of takes on a meaning of like surviving difficult moment, and it has a deeper meaning to some of the developers and everything with IO Interactive, and also with some of the fans of them. And because they could have gone back and like changed the design of them, like they could have said, well, that's just a stand-in with the pink sticker. We're going to go back and we're going to change the design and actually make it genuinely different, which they never did, because the pink sticker took on a meaning, right? Now to Silver Baller. I hope I explained that well enough. Okay. So it's the ICA 19, but it's silver. There you go, there you are. Now, it does have the clone insignia. Now I want to make a point about this. I'm being very bold in calling it the clone insignia, I think. Because I think other people would call it the Hitman insignia, like the series Hitman. It's the insignia to do with that, so it's the Hitman insignia. Now, I don't want to call it the Hitman insignia for several reasons. One, there's other Hitmen in the universe, other than Agent 47. There's other agents, and they don't use it. There's the ICA, which again, it's not their symbol, it's another symbol. It is unique to the clone project, to Agent 47. So I call it the clone insignia in my notes. I'm going to make that clear. I think it's a bit bold, but I think it's logical. Okay, so I should have some sort of a 1911 variant up here, which looks a bit similar to this. I seem to remember getting that picture, so there we are. Now, I make a point about Agent 47 probably having some input in the design of this. And how he probably wanted something quite unique, but he also wanted it to kind of represent him a bit, so he wanted it to be refined. He didn't want it to be too much, didn't want it to be too subtle. And then he also has the insignia on it somewhere. I can't remember. Well, so anyway, it does have the insignia on it, I'm pretty sure though. Then there's the next one here, the White Trinity. Now this is part of the White Trinity set, which is kind of the early portion of his career, basically from the start of his career and even going into his first kind of realization that the same guy who was a part of hiring him, I guess, or technically, I think actually he was the only guy basically voting against hiring him actually originally. He was the only one kind of saying, maybe we shouldn't hire this guy. But anyway, that guy, what's his name now? I forget his name, but he's in the Hokkaido mission. He's the target in the Hokkaido mission anyways. Now, it's that whole section, and even before, where it's kind of like him being naive, him being sterile, like he doesn't have much personality that's his own. And also, it symbolizes life, like he actually got a job. He was independent, like it still had positives, but it was also the time where he was quite naive to things that were happening. Onto the Camera 2 tranquilizer. Now this is a tranquilizer dart gun, which is an updated version of the Camera 1. It has a kind of different color, I think, to the Camera 1. Is it a Camera 1? I think it is. Anyways, I'm only reading my notes here, so I make the point that this is probably supposed to be used on animals, and the ICA is simply using it on humans. And so they're shooting people with a tranq dart, and then they're collapsing and being unconscious. Now that leads me on to the lethal version of this. Now I don't think I have that, but there is a lethal version, and I'm making the point that I think the lethal version is just a dart gun as well for animals, but at a way higher dose, so when you shoot a human with it, they die. That's kind of how I think about that. Now this is the first of a very large set, actually. But this is ICA-19 variant. It has a street art design. And it has a spray can as a suppressor. Now I make a point that I think the whole set was basically 47 wanting to have some sort of design based off of the spray can suppressor. And so when he was thinking about that, he also then thought about the Berlin mission. And he was thinking about how in Berlin there's loads of graffiti around the club and everything. And so he takes that and he makes a whole set which is based on that. And again, I'm going to make the point that I'm kind of making a claim that because it's so relevant to him, I think that he has quite a large input in the design of some of these gadgets and weapons. So in this case, I do think he basically wants the graffiti from Berlin on the weapons because the spray can plays into the idea of graffiti, and Berlin was like an important mission for him because he kind of maybe not necessarily overthrows, but he like overturns the ICA's treatment of him. Like they were going to go after him, and they don't really pursue him in that sort of way afterwards. So it really is an important mission where it changes that dynamic. Now, it says on here bunny pistol, and it says about your target falling down the rabbit hole. Now, that seems to be something to do with the club again, because now it later becomes Club Boom, so I'm just going to call it Club Boom, even though at the time I think it was called Club Hell, but in German. I'm just going to call it Club Boom anyway. And so Club Boom was basically famous for having an annual Easter night. And so people would commonly show up at the club with, bunny masks on or with bunny ears or whatever. That when they're doing graffiti, they would graffiti bunnies. And so it plays into, because that's like an Easter thing, right? And on Easter they would have that Easter night at the club. So I think that he plays off of the two things. So he wants to play off of the graffiti with the spray can, because that's kind of the origin point. And then he goes to the club and then he plays off of the main theme around the graffiti and the club culture, I guess, which is about the bunny association because of Easter, the Easter night that they do. Okay. On to the Banker silence pistol. Now this is a Hawk weapon, maybe Hawk 21, but it's kind of similar to the Walter P99, and it's based off of the James Bond gun in Casino Royale. But in the lore, it's actually the gun the Schaefer uses, who is called the Banker in the game. So Frank Pistol is based off of Bartoli 75R. Now I believe I have on screen the actual real life Beretta that it's actually based off of. I'm pretty sure I have that. So the design is based off of a prank pistol, because a prank pistol is like the ones where you pull the trigger and a flag comes out and says bang. So that's why it's got the big bang thing on the side of the barrel, or the mechanism. Now here, let's forget what that's called. Anyway, doesn't matter. Point is, in the Eminem mission, Eminem gets him to kill his alter ego. Now I'm saying that the law reality of what happens is not that he is magical when he goes into a dream world and he does some Freddy Krueger sort of stuff to to Eminem. I'm going to say that's not actually what happens. Instead, what I'm saying what happens is that he does some sort of reenactment therapy where he like gets a dummy and he says, "This is Slim Shady, your alter ego," and then he like kills the dummy, like reenacts killing the dummy as like a therapy kind of thing with Eminem. And it makes a lot of sense considering a lot of what comes afterwards, which seem to be gifts from Eminem because of what he did. So it will kind of make some sense now. I'm saying that after the reenactment, Eminem gives him all the things he associates with the alter ego. And so in this case, he gives this pistol over. And so this is Eminem's pistol, but it's just like, it's like the alter ego Slim Shady version. So he gives it up because he's trying to overcome that. This is the scrap gun, which is 3D printed or partially 3D printed. Yeah, and it's based on the 5mm, the custom 5mm, which is like Frisk safe and everything. So this is the same idea in basically every way. Basically every way it's the same sort of idea. It's just a 3D printed version of it, basically. This is the serpent's tongue. So this is a crossbow for darts. So I think I've actually found a dart crossbow, and you can actually see it has like a tube kind of slide for the dart to travel down. And then if you look at this serpent version, the mouth of the serpent is kind of going to be that tube thing that the dart travels down. And so the snake is representing being tempted into a mistake, right? And so there's a point where 47 has hallucinations, and one of them is like all around temptations and bad temptations and stuff like that. And so he after his hallucinations, he ends up commissioning loads of gadgets and stuff. So this is one of them, which is this pistol, dart, crossbow, which blinds someone, which is kind of like making someone make a mistake. Like, it's easy to just get them into a place, hit them with a dart, and then you can just walk right up to them and they don't even notice you. Because sometimes, you know, you would have to sneak up behind them, say, to kill them, but with the dart you could make them blind to the danger, basically. Okay, on to the next one. I'm still talking about the other one. On to the next one. SMG Raptor Rude Ruby Covert. So this is based on the Chris Vector CLB. Now, I've got that on the screen, I'm sure now. the Rude Ruby design has deeper lore to it, so let me get into that now. Rude Ruby is a gun found in Whittleton Creek, and there's a baker woman there. She's like an old woman. She's baking muffins, and she's actually, it turns out, some sort of serial killer character. Like she's making poisons. She's poisoning people. Low dosage. She killed someone, and she has this pink gun, which I may put on the screen also. Now, that kind of becomes a sort of sweet but deadly idea, and he takes that as a design, an interesting design. Like he kind of takes it in an artistic way, and then he ends up getting a few things with a Rude Ruby design on them. This raptor being one of those things. Now, Slapdash SMG, it's based on the DAC X2 in-game. It's a bit like a Mac 10, I believe, in real life, which would probably be what's actually on screen here. But this is a makeshift version. It's a SMG that uses an oil filter as a suppressor, which is kind of in real life. You do see that in like black market SMGs, I guess. So it seems like Agent 47 acquired this somehow on his own in a black market, probably post-story. Probably. And then we have the Scrap SMG, which also uses the oil filter suppressor. But this is probably made with literally just scrap parts. Maybe some of it's 3D printed, but mostly it just seems like literally just parts out of a junkyard. Literally there seems to be like a piece of fencing, like an iron railing that's used on this as a like a four stock. No, like it uses a stock, this like piece of railing, so it's completely just random bits of things. Now the TAC SMG, based on a Magpul FMG9, which will be on screen. Now this is probably used by security forces in the game. Now I think I remember that this, I want to remember, but I believe I couldn't find the version with that foregrip. But I found the foregrip and I found it, the FMG9, but I couldn't find it with the FMG9 on with the foregrip, so it is what it is on that case. Now this is the Shark SMG, which is based on the HX7, which is don't have the note, but I feel like I can think, is it an MP5? I think it is, because I remember the picture. MP3. It's like the you know when it has a bar. I can't think of what this is called, but where you have a bar with a dot showing you where you are in the timeline, and then with the numbers to the left. So that's MP3. The next one is MP4, and it's a video with the same timeline with the dot on it and the time shown on the left. And then it's an MP5, and it's this gun. So I'm pretty sure it's an MP5. That I do not have a note on. That's just off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure I'm right though. Now this is kind of like a urban predator. You're a shark. You know, you're in an urban place though, so it doesn't make sense to be a shark, right? If you're on land, but obviously it's symbolic. It's him being like a predator, him being the hunter, and so on. The Splitter SMG. So the Splitter is Van Damme in the game. Now it says here, go full on cyborg with this futuristic SMG. This is based on the gun from the movie Cyborg. I'm sure I've got a picture of that. In the game, Van Damme's character is called Max Valiant. But basically all the gear you get off of him is actually references to Van Damme films. Now, Bartoli 12 gauge short H. Now, I don't know really what the H means. It could mean like a hunter shotgun, which is kind of what I'm thinking. Is it supposed to be like a hunter version of this? Maybe. But it could also just be a classification, like a design classification, like they tried a Bartoli 12 gauge short A, and then they did another version, Bartoli 12 gauge short B, and so on, and eventually they got to H and they went, yeah, this is the best version and we don't need a redesign of this one, and they released it as Bartoli 12 gauge short H. Either way, whether it means hunter or it means a kind of lettered, numbered way of doing a design classification, either way, it is what it is. It's based on the Maverick 88. I believe it's Mossberg Maverick 88. I actually don't have that note, but I believe it is. Now, it has a bit of a shorter barrel, so it does have wider spread. Something to mention. Now, the NRAM HV covert here, based on the Keltec KSG. Now, HV probably means high velocity, because it does have really low spread. Well, pretty low spread. And it's also covert, it does have a suppressor. Concrete shotguns. This is again one of these graffiti designs. Mossberg Model 500. This is graffiti directly from Berlin. And it's just a basic continuation of that set of graffiti-based designs that came off of him using a spray can on a gun in like a tough moment in the story right towards the end. Then afterwards he kind of, I don't know, I guess he just gets creative and wants to design off of the idea of a spray can, comes up with the idea of graffiti. There you go. ICA Tactical Shotgun Covert. Now this is... it's basically like a modern tactical shotgun that's been highly modified. This is... I forget what I use on the picture here, but it looks a bit different to the picture, but the point is there's a lot going on. There's a light, there's a suppressor, there's whatever. The picture I'm using, I think it's a French, I want to say it's a French gun that I use, but anyway. It is just a highly modified modern shotgun. Okay. Now the makeshift scrap shotgun, this is similar to the sawed-off Bartoli 12 gauge. I don't have a picture of a sawed-off Beretta or anything like that, but I do have, or even a Mossberg, but I do have a picture where it does seem a bit shorter, the barrel, in a similar way to this, so I think I use that. Okay, so now this is concealable. Here's a big thing about this one. You don't just put it on your back, you actually can put it like on an inside pocket, like other items. Very unique, that. Now this is the Maximalist shotgun, which is another kind of sawed-off Bartoli kind of gun. This one comes again off of the hallucinations he had with everything made of gold and everything. So he does make this. Now I'm pretty sure this is quite a powerful shotgun actually, kind of more so than other shotguns. think that's right. Anyway, so this is RS-15, so this is going to be quite interesting. Some of the points I make on this, I think. So this is like an AK. I think I looked and it seemed like an AKMS, which is what I'm going to be showing. In the lore, it's probably used by insurgents and militias, and this version is modified, so it's got quite modern kind of use ability. This is a suppressed rifle as well, which is quite good. Now, I'll make this point. It's an AK sort of weapon, and a Shashka is an AK type of weapon. In this, you can see RS, right? So it's AK, RS. Shashka is an AK type weapon, and in the same way, you have an AK, and then someone might call something a Kalashnikov. In the same way, maybe you have an RS, and then people may call something a Shashka. And so I'm saying that the S in RS means Shashka. I think that's fair. I think it's a fair assessment there. These are the sort of inferences I was talking about at the beginning, and I think that's fair. TAC 4 AR Auto, based on IWI Tavor. Now, TAC almost certainly means tactical. 4 is probably, like with the H, could have been on the shotgun. It's probably, there was a TAC 1, then a TAC 2, then there was a TAC 3, then there was a TAC 4. So this is the TAC 4. AR almost certainly means assault rifle. Makes sense. Could be something else, I guess. But I think in this logic, it would probably mean assault rifle. And it is used by military guards and people in the militia camp. Or I think it's used, excuse me, I read my notes kind of wrong there. The use case would be to take on military guards or to assault on a militia camp. Now the MK2 has the pink sticker, which we talked about before, otherwise it's the same. The TAC 4 AR Desert, I do have a kind of desert looking version, I think, which I'll be able to put up here. Now this is the same, but it's got two differences. One, the most obvious one, is it has this desert camo on it. Now this is like a key part of it. It's why it's called the desert, right? The second key thing is that it is actually suppressed, unlike the others. It is suppressed. Now this is a semi-automatic TAC 4. Now this has some differences. I'm just going to quickly show. It does actually have a different sort of like a scope. I don't know what was called, a reflex scope or something. And then you have this one is also suppressed. Now, a semi-automatic is kind of like a militia weapon. I think I found it. You get it from like the Colorado mission, and so it kind of makes sense to me how they're doing like training on assaulting cars in the streets, on doing quick missions in and out, like get in, do the mission, get out. It does make, and obviously the militia, they don't have infinite resources. It makes sense to me that they would have like a really good rifle that's fully automatic, and they would actually make it semi-automatic instead, so that they could conserve ammo and so on. Now this is the concrete assault rifle, which, based on M4 carbine, is going to be on screen, and continues this Berlin graffiti kind of idea with designs. In game, it's like a Fusel G2. Now, here is the Sheshka Beast, which we kind of spoke about. Some of these rifle being called Sheshka. Now, this is some sort of AK. I was looking, I couldn't really tell. So I think I've just got an AK-47 up here, I think. But because whoa, I need a drink. Hold on. It's my drink I had earlier. It's not quite as cold anymore, but that's okay. So I have like an AK-47. I think I was trying to find some sort of AK which has those vent kind of holes. But the closest I could find, I think, was an AK-103. But I was a bit like, it's not quite really the same. So I think I've just got a AK-47 to show. Now we have the makeshift scrap assault rifle. Now this is just trying to make sure everything's in good order. The makeshift scrap assault rifle, based on the RS-15, but made with scrap. So this is either made by Agent 47 after the story, or it's somehow on the black market or something, he's bought it. That's kind of what I'm going with. The Hackle Sniper Rifle Covert Ducky Edition. Man, that's probably the longest item name we've got so far. Real life model, which is on screen, is Barrett XM500. Now, this one is ultra silent, and it has loads of perks. I mean, extended scope, piercing, suppressed, marksman, where you can like slow time. I mean, it's just it's a very good sniper. And the ducky design we've kind of gone over is why he's fond of ducks, rubber duckies. Now the Jaeger 7 is based off the Barrett MRAD. Now, Jaeger in German means hunter, so it's probably meant to be like a hunting rifle, or like a sniper rifle for hunting, whatever. It's got to be like some sort of hunting rifle that would... But it could also be, I've got my note here, it could also be for military use, but hunter is like just a good name for equipment. It's not actually, because it's for hunters, it's called hunter because that's like a marketable kind of name. But there is this here, it says Scout can be aimed quickly and has increased fire rate, which to me suggests it is actually for hunting, because that would be, I think, quite useful for actually hunting. Now this is the Mark II, which is the same with a pink sticker. This is the Jaeger 7 Green Eye, which is based on the Jaeger 7 but is green. It is suppressed. It's based on his hallucinations, where he had a dream about envy and about how people maybe other agents feel like they have to say he isn't as good as people think, or something like this. But actually he is. Now here it's called Green Eye. Now Green Eye is like green-eyed. Green-eyed means that you're envious. And also the scope is green. So like his eye, he's eyeing you through the scope, like he's looking at you through the scope, through a green scope, so he has like a green eye looking at you. If I'm explaining that well enough. So there's a slight double meaning there. Concrete sniper rifle. This is again based on the continuing graffiti designs we've been talking about. And this is based on the Sega 300, which I have on screen. The rifle that's based on. I want to say it's a. I want to say it's an American manufacturer. Actually, can't remember. The Majestic. Now this is based on a Bartoli hunting rifle, which again I've got the actual rifle in real life. It's actually based on, which I cannot remember the name of. Now this is a sniper rifle with a peacock kind of design on it because of his, again, hallucinations with pride being represented by peacock, and so I think he based things off of his hallucinations just for design reasons. It seems like stuff that comes post story is a lot of design freedom. It's not so symbolic. A lot of the stuff that seems to be from post story, it just seems to be creative. It doesn't seem to have as much symbolic meaning, which is kind of interesting, I guess. Now this is based on the Druzina 34. Again, I've got the actual rifle it's actually based on screen. But this one is made of scrapped. It's unsilenced. It's very loud. Very loud. And it is quite a powerful sniper, actually, even compared to the other ones. Okay, now this is going to be kind of a mess, some of this. So this is the Good Quark Volume 3. Now, it seems it's probably meant to say Good Quack, like a duck. This is a splitter item, so it seems to be some reference to Van Damme film, I guess. Or Van Damme films in general. A new bat. So this is from Corky the Clown, which is like in Blood Money. You had a mission where you're in a sort of suburbs kind of area, and there was a clown called Corky the Clown, and you could actually knock him out and dress up as him. That's usual. But if you did, you got great success with it. You could easily just walk in. You did actually get a pat down, which is unusual for Corky the Clown, but anyway, you got a pat down. You go through, and everyone just kind of is fine with you being around. And they don't even find it suspicious that you're not making jokes, you're not laughing, you don't even have a smile. You don't even have a smile. They don't even find that suspicious. So he had a lot of success with that. And so ever since, he kind of sometimes, I guess, dresses up like this clown, Corky the Clown. And likewise, in this game, if you're dressed up as Corky the Clown and you're carrying a baseball bat, this bat here, a new bat, you're walking around with a baseball bat in hand, and no one will care. No one will care. That's the type of success you get with that, and that's why he sometimes dresses that way. So this is the Burj Al Ghazal Lee snow globe. Probably he just bought this from the gift shop. Yeah. It says here available in the gift shop, which seems to be what, like he just decided to buy this in the gift shop. I don't really know what the implication actually is of that, but he probably just bought it from the gift shop, I guess. Blueberry muffin. Now this is based on the recipe of the serial killer woman we were talking about before. And this is a simple distraction, simple melee weapon. It does come in a set of 3, which is interesting. Now, combat knife is a standard combat knife. It probably is something that 47 specifically asked for after the Sapienza mission, because maybe he was using a kitchen knife in the Sapienza mission, because in that mission you have to go into the mansion. Probably the most obvious way in there is through the kitchen, and maybe he uses the knife, like maybe there's some implication that he uses the knife and then he wants to get a better knife that's better suited for actual stabbing people, rather than a kitchen knife. Okay, fiber wire. Now this is a signature tool of Agent 47, of course. Now it doesn't leave blood. You don't leave behind bullets. It's silent. And you kind of have to do it, you have to pre-plan it and you have to do it really well. So it's really reminds me of the opening cutscene when you're just coming out of training, where it shows Agent 47 and all his missions, and it has him like strangling someone, garroting someone with the fiber wire as they're playing the cello, which is from Blood Money, that scene, right? And he says, I think as he's doing that, he says, you made it an art or something like that. So it does remind me that this is like really high precision usage, which represents Agent 47, I guess. Now this is the Golden Dragon scissors. Now, this is a reference to Bruce Lee, of course. And I think, you know his kind of bowl cut hair, which is quite famous. I think it's kind of a reference to that. So Golden Dragon is Bruce Lee. Scissors, it's kind of like his famous bowl cut, That's kind of what I'm going with this. A fish. Put the fish on screen. That is the fish it's based off, which is kind of a fugu pufferfish, like a Japanese pufferfish. Seems to be the fish it's based off of, but I think certain places actually the fish are coloured differently. So I think the shape and everything is kind of the same, but you do get like red and blue fish sometimes and whatever. Okay, hobby knife. Now this is a normal kind of box cutter type of a knife, and it's really good as like an assassin weapon because it's not that unusual to have on hand. So if you get pat down or something, people may not really think of it as that unusual. They may not think of it as so suspicious, but also it is actually still a knife, So it's like that sort of assassin type of grey zone that Agent 47 would want to be in. Now, I/O Elite S2 VP phones. Now, I/O seems to be a reference to I/O Interactive. Elite seems to be a sort of marketing luxury type of branding. Then S2 is probably Series 2, and VP, I'm not too sure, but it could be based on the pattern. Maybe it could be like a Viper pattern or something like that. So that's, my notes say Viper pattern, but I don't know. That's a potential. Okay, jar of mum spaghetti. So this is a gift from Eminem after helping him. Now this is a branded jar of mum spaghetti because I think he actually has like some restaurant or something. Yeah, jar of spaghetti from the Detroit Eatery. So he has like some restaurant, I think, in Detroit, I guess. There you are. Which again, it goes more to the idea that it was kind of a therapy thing. It wasn't like he actually went into a Freddy Krueger dream world and did anything like that. Okay, so this is a jade dagger, which probably is a Concord Union, which was the syndicate which we were trying to take down and infiltrate and take down by Agent Lee in that mission, The Infiltrator. And I do have it listed somewhere, but I think it's later on. Yeah, okay, there it is. So the Jade Dagger is like I think it's a common sort of Chinese thing to have like jade, because it has like a symbolic meaning of like I forget the meaning. I think it's good luck, it's royalty kind of meaning, something like that. Okay. Now we have Jarl's pirate saber. Now this is quite interesting. So it says here, an old saber owned by Jarl, son of Han, first mate to the dread pirate, the Black Almond. Now looking into this, him being like first in command after the pirate, the Black Almond, is something that the black something is very common for pirate names, because the black can mean some physical feature, like a black beard or something, for example. But it can also mean, and a lot, what it means is like you're kind of like, you like kill a lot of people, I guess is what it kind of means. Now, the Black Almond though, why almond? It's from Ambrose Island, to be clear, Ambrose Island, and then it's called the Black Almond, this pirate. So I looked into it, and there is a Indian almond, which is kind of the Ambrose kind of sea, kind of region, and the Andaman Sea is where it is. Andaman Sea, I've got the note here, Andaman Sea, okay. And so that is where the Indian almond is, which is maybe, well, it's one of the places where it is, which is maybe what's that's based on somehow. Maybe they ate that, maybe they somehow used that, maybe they based some of their heraldry, sort of their flag or something, on the Indian almond. It's hard to say, but probably it does have some reference to that. Okay, here we have Kali sticks, which are melee weapons. And, okay, so I've got this. It says, they're likely training weapons during the Agent Lee mission, The Infiltrator. So probably people just trained with them, martial arts training. This is the cookery knife. Cookery knife. Probably found in Dartmoor as a sort of old colonial relic, kind of brought back, antique kind of a thing. Okay, Kronstadt IOI 1998X surround earphones. Now, the IOI is pretty obviously IO Interactive IOI. The 1998 is the year IO Interactive was founded, and the X seems to be a sort of marketing thing Kronstadt does with some of the things. They just sort of throw an X in for no reason. So the Kukri machete is a pirate machete. It's literally the only note I have on it. So it's a pirate machete. Now I then go to the mace, which is probably just found in the Isle of Scale, because there's a lot of like old kind of relics in there. There's like I know there's a knight armor and things like that. So probably just found it there and took it. Measuring tape, maybe taken from the tailor in Mumbai, maybe. So the only note I have on that is potentially is, which makes me think probably you get it from Mumbai, or you used to get it from Mumbai. I think now you get it from a featured contract thing, I seem to remember. I actually didn't look up the pronunciation of this. I'm not going to mention pronunciation or lack of pronunciation properly again, but I don't actually know how to pronounce this one. as well as others, I'm sure. But I'm just going to pronounce it Masamune. And this is a master swordsmith, and you probably got this from Hokkaido. You probably just kind of got this katana from Hokkaido somewhere. Maybe not necessarily the hospital, but maybe just down in the city somewhere you might got it. Meaty bone. Now this seems to be a human bone, because you find this in Santa Fortuna and you feed it to a hippo, I think, and it seems to be a sort of cartel body disposal sort of thing going on. Now this is Niabara's machete, or Niabara's machete, and this is like she's like a warlord, I think, and she, I guess, intimidates people with a machete. So you took it when you killed her, right? A piton. This is like a climbing. It's like a climbing thing. You like put it in the rock and then you put your ropes through it and whatever to like hold yourself in. Okinawan tonfa, which is like a traditional martial art in Okinawa, and which is Japan, but it's like, I did look, and actually it officially joined Japan in the 19th century, so I don't know exactly how well, I don't know exactly the situation there with Japanese kind of things going on there. Like a quick draw, again, it's a climbing thing where you kind of place them apart and then you put your ropes through it. So it's a climbing, you use it with the piton, I'm pretty sure. So you have a shuriken, which again you probably got in the Hokkaido mission. Maybe you got it when you decided to dress up as a ninja for the Hokkaido mission. Anyway, so then you got the snowball, which is probably not actually snow. It says a ball made of snow, but it probably actually isn't snow. It probably is like some sort of artificial snow. And then you have the sickle sacrificus, which is a ornate sickle, which you probably got from a cult member in Bangkok or Sapienza. Then the banker's rope, which is from the scene in Casino Royale. Do you know the one where James Bond's like tied to the chair? And it's also just a rope, which is quite nice. Cat's claw. So this is an ornate dagger, which again, it's kind of playing off of the idea of envy in the hallucination, because it's sort of like a cat clawing, trying to grab something, and in doing so, it's just causing pain because it's clawing, you know. Okay, so the concrete bat, again, it's kind of graffiti designs. Playing off of that. Club Boon 12-inch vinyl sampler. Now this is actually like a super sharp edge on it, and you like basically use it like a shuriken. You like chuck it like your odd job or something, and you slice people up just with the rim of the vinyl. Devil's Cane has greedy coins inside of it, so it has these golden coins inside of it, and when you hit people with it, the coins come out. That seems to be a feature of this cane. Now this is the Disruptor cane, which is, it's like the McGregor thing. I tried to find something of McGregor with a cane. I couldn't really find him with a cane at all like that. disruptor resistance band. It's like a training, fight camp, equipment training, which you probably just take after you killed him. This is his kettlebell, which is very Irish, clearly. Then a makeshift katana, which seems to be a refurbished katana, which maybe he bought kind of either black market or kind of in a low money trail kind of a way, you know what I mean? Proud swashbuckler. So this is actually from Pride. So one of the things he does in that is he takes something like this. Actually, takes something like a sword or a machete or something like this. So it's a similar. So he kind of thought of this design. He made it. So this is the splitter cutlery knife. So this is Van Damme, right? So the splitter, Van Damme. So this is like a reference to the knife in Cyborg again, which I should have a picture of up there. Okay. Now we're on to these. Okay, so let me get my drink here a second. Okay. Arctic Toolbox. This is like the box for all of those climbing items from before. Crimson Briefcase. This is like a part of the Trinity set. It's got the clone insignia on it. It's the middling Blood and Passion era red, and then this is the Executive Briefcase, which probably is from the ICA, and it is for when you're going to kind of blend in as like an executive, like if you're going into a bank, if you're going into a office or something. ICA Briefcase Mark III. This is the one with the clone insignia on it. Premier White. This is the White Trinity set from its sort of naive kind of early period. Again, it has the clone insignia on it. This is the Seeger 300 sniper rifle case, which he probably got for being a competent sniper rifle agent. And they made that, the ICA made that specifically for Agent 47. The toolbox, and this is actually a Mason toolbox, which is like a big, like hardware and handyman item kind of manufacturer. So they make a lot of stuff like wrenches, screwdrivers, and a lot of stuff like that. So this is like just a normal toolbox. So you blend in well with that. Club Boom 12-inch flight case. So normally you would have vinyls and cables and, you know, whatever you need like that. But in this case, obviously, he's going to have a shotgun or something in there. So again, it's pretty good cover, I think. Ultimate black briefcase with the insignia. So it's a little bit hard to see, but it is there. This is from the Black Trinity set. It's the later sort of experienced kind of a period. Small gold bar, which was he just stole that from the bank, straight from the vault of the bank. Did I actually show you this? The gold bar. There you are. Stolen from the bank. So this is the Electronic Key Hacker Mark III, which is just an advanced keycard bypass. This one I think was made in China, just as a interesting thing. So, for example, here we are. Handyman wrench, a Mason branded one. Don't know if you can see the house with Mason on the wrench, but it is there. And so this is, again, it's just a normal wrench. But you can get a lot of use out of wrench. And this is the Micro Taser, made by the ICA, which is a sort of spy gadget almost. But it's probably a fairly typical secret way to take down a target in the ICA. ICA flash phone, again, it's sort of like a spy gadget. So you can kind of see the ICA getting more into like spy gadgets and stuff like that. So when they pick that up, it blinds them, and maybe if other people are very close, it blinds them also. A lockpick, basic ICA gear just to basic agents, the Mark II, so it's the same as a lockpick but with a pink sticker on it. The mini pass seems to be a reference to the multi-pass from Fifth Element. I think I'll try to get a picture. I don't have it, but I'll try to get the picture and have that. Let me actually write that in. Okay, I've written that in as a note into my big note list. Lockpick Mark III, compact version of the lockpick, but ultimately it's just another sort of lockpick version. Oil canisters. This is Asian oil, is what I think. I put my video title called Asian oil. It seems like it kind of is originally from the Ambrose Island kind of mission. Maybe he actually just decided he was going to start using oil more after that mission, I guess. That's where that comes from. Professional screwdriver. A lot of good uses with this. So it seems that he wanted the ICA to make him a specifically made one that he could still use as a screwdriver, but would also be more effective than a regular screwdriver, actually being consistent in stabbing people or anything like that. The influential duck. So this seems to just be a reference to the target he killed in the Resident Evil mission, which he seems to put onto ducks, which is going to be important a little bit later. But he gives emetic gas comes out of it, and then they become ill, and so it's influential in that sense, in both that it influences them to come over, but it also kind of gives them a sort of flu kind of a thing going on, making them ill. So a coin. So this is a fairly regular coin, but this one says lethal payment in Latin rather than what a normal coin would be. This seems to be the coin that Diana gives him in, I think it's Absolution, I think. Then you have gold coin, which is a commemorative coin, which says the Latin in the description there, but what the Latin says is, for gold they would kill. And this is probably something the ICA gave as a commemorative gift in the past. It doesn't seem like it's a more modern thing. It seems a bit more of a old kind of a thing they used to do, maybe. ICA remote audio distraction Mark III. So this is like an electronic speaker that is remote controlled. It plays a kind of beeping or something, I think. But it's like a coin, but you can be a bit more precise than a coin. You can time it easier. You can even do it from further away. You don't need to be within throwing distance to trigger it. You can make someone go away out of a separate door whilst you sneak in the door that you're hiding behind. Things like that. You can do more interesting things with it than a coin. Greedy little coin. So this is from his hallucinations about greed and about how for a long time he's used a coin as a distraction for people, which led to people dying, right? Either that person who got distracted with the coin or someone else. And so it's like, because they had greed for loose change, like he used to literally just use like 10 cents or something as a coin. He would throw 10 cents and someone would walk over and pick up the 10 cents. And in doing so, that would facilitate him killing either them or someone else. And so that goes back a long time. He associates that with him a lot. He used the coin so much. So it's got the clone insignia on it, which he kind of adopted as his own insignia. And he sees it as like how it takes advantages of like small flaws of people. Red tie Kiwi onto this. So this is the squeaky toy, I think, under the window in the Hawke's Bay mission. I believe it's the squeaky toy is like a little Kiwi squeaky toy like this. Now, in this, I heard a lot about this actually. It kind of represents. He kind of took to it a little bit, only a little bit, because if the house was empty, or if he hadn't noticed it whilst it was still empty, then what could have happened is easily he would have stepped on a squeaky toy. If they would have heard it, they would have come found him. He would have then been in a difficult situation. That didn't happen, okay? Because he notices it whilst it's still empty, or whatever. So he kind of just gets lucky in that respect. And so people talk about him being a legendary perfect assassin, but sometimes he's just lucky. So then he feels a bit more human thinking about that, or that idea. So then he wanted a squeaky toy based on the same sort of thing. Now he dresses it up in his signature look, I think simply just to differentiate it from other squeaky toys like this, because it's probably a fairly common squeaky toy. Like it's probably not made specifically for that person on the Hawke's Bay mission. In law, that is. So the Casino Monarchique 1 million euro chip. So this is very similar to a coin, but instead of it being pocket change sort of values, it's actually 1 million euros, which is not so bad. Poker Face Duck, part of 47's Duck collection, modelled after one of his targets, the Banker Le Chiffre. It plays casino payout sounds when you remote activate it. Again, it's a duck based off a target he killed. So it's going to come up a little later, that point. That's why I'm re-mentioning that. So this Bubble Queen gun pack is, it says here, 4-in-1 banana, grape, fish and meat all rolled into one chewing gum. Okay, so this is like some sort of shot of genius during his hallucinations, I guess, where he just thinks that these 4 flavors together are the most gluttonous sort of a food combination, because it doesn't sound appetizing. Banana, grape, fish and meat gum, like a single gum like that. I mean, not that I would want a fish gum or meat bubble gum anyway, but it's not even just that, it's all of them all in one gum as well. And so it's like, it doesn't sound appetizing, yet they still want to eat it anyway. It's still tempting to eat anyway, even though it doesn't sound appetizing, it doesn't sound like it's going to taste nice, you still want to eat it. And of course it's got a sedative in there, and so they eat it and they fall asleep. Emetic poison vial, probably lab-made emetic poison. Lethal poison vial, again it's probably lab-made. Tasteless, potent poison vial. Each vial has exactly 1 dose in it. I see a pen syringe, so this is a sort of automatic auto syringe sort of design with an emetic poison. Modern lethal syringe. So this is a lethal concoction which seems to be based off of all the sort of common lethal injections for the death penalty, somehow mixed together and made potent, and it kind of works however they've done that. And it looks like a manual syringe, the design of the syringe, like it looks like you push the liquid in with the pusher, but it could actually just be designed to be like an auto-injected thing, even though it looks like a manual kind of pusher syringe. And this is the modern sedative syringe, which again is likely lab-made poison, in a similar syringe to the modern lethal syringe. The syringe leaves no immediately obvious injury or any assault bruising or any suspicious marks, which means that when a victim of this poison is found, they don't instantly suspect anything because they just see him on the floor. They don't see a bruise, they don't see a bump, they don't see blood, they don't see anything. And the thing is that if you're a victim of the poison, it's not so uncommon that you'll have memory issues also. You won't know exactly why they fainted, and they will assume that they fainted, not that they were knocked out. They will more likely think that they had heat stroke or something similar, low blood sugar or something, rather than thinking they actually were knocked out by a chemical like that. Sedative poison vial. It says on the bottle, injection for use in IV, like an IV drip. So it's either the case that the ICA repurposes normal medicines they get for use in a different way, or it could be that they make it and they just put it in a bottle which is more known, maybe like it's a more medical, normal looking civilian bottle, which I think I have a note later saying it's probably that. It's probably because it looks like a more normal thing to have rather than an unnamed kind of bottle with some weird chemical in it. Sedative pills, again, a likely lab-made sedative compound. So instead of it being a liquid like a vial, it's some pill form, solid pills. Now it does say in the description here, dissolvable and contains enough in a bottle for a single dose of sedative. And then this one actually reads used, it says intended for ingestion or something. It says the end point, it says ingestion. So it seems that this one is actually the one that's made to be ingested. Even though they both can be used that way, it's just the bottle is that way. Breaching charge Mark 3. Now this is a typical kind of breaching charge, but it's really quiet, this one. And so it can break through safes, it can break through doors, You can set up a surgical kill with it, but that is tough, but you can do that. And you don't need lockpick, you don't need a key hacker, you can just blow up a door. Explosive Xmas gift, it's like a parcel bomb. You're kind of meant to use this around Christmas, probably. I mean, Agent 47 intended that, let's say. And the Christmas Paris mission, Holiday Hoarders, I believe it's called. That's off the top of my head. It's clearly a reference to Home Alone. And this is kind of like a booby trap sort of thing, so that makes sense. Also, this is a ICA proximity concussion device, which seems to be some sort of a mine-like thing, where when it explodes, it comes up with high force air, or a jet of shockwave sort of a thing. It's not like a fiery explosion; it is just like a shock of air, really, or a shockwave. And then it's either the G-force or the high impact kind of shock from the blast wave that knocks you out. And then it is actually possible, because it has this high power air shooting out of it. You can actually use that to trigger other explosives, so you can use it to trigger like a propane tank or something like that. Which then, when they find the body, when they do an autopsy or whatever, they will sort of think maybe this is more likely a accident or some malfunction, rather than suspecting, any wrongdoing done. Gold brick proximity mine. Now, gold brick means something that seems valuable, but then turns out to be worthless. So it seems at first valuable, later you find out it's worthless. But gold brick also means someone who's lazy. So it does fit this, because they think it's useful, they go over to it. It ends up being useless because they just end up being knocked out by it. And they end up being lazy, as in they're snoozing on the floor. Again, this comes from Agent 47's hallucinations, where he was kind of being lazy in the garden, kind of like a garden snail, so it's shaped like a snail. And it is sedative gas that's being used here, and so again, if their bodies are found, nobody really thinks anything is suspicious about it. There's no marks on their bodies or anything. They have memory issues a little bit. About sedatives, this is a kind of a side thing, but targets, it's kind of a bad idea to leave a target sedated. They get found in a weird situation, then later they're going to be found dead. In retrospect, that's very suspicious that they were found sedated. So it's slightly different with targets, because when it comes around and you've killed them, if earlier on they were found in kind of suspicious circumstances, but no one thought too much of it at the time, maybe, in retrospect it will be very suspicious. So that's slightly different with targets. Okay, so this is Proximity Concussion Device Mark III, which is just an update to the earlier version. So it is a sort of concussion mine. This is sort of a Chinese version. And unlike sedatives, a concussion device does leave bumps, it does leave, bruising. So it does raise suspicions when people are found unconscious after being knocked unconscious by this. This is the ICA proximity explosive. So this is basically a mine with sensors, but it's like a mine. And you can set up a trap, and you can kill guards on patrol. You can kill targets if you know they're going from point A to point B at some point. You can even use it to open doors or safes or whatever. But you kind of have to bait it with yourself. So you have to kind of stand on the mine and then run off of it. So that sort of a thing. So it's kind of risky to do, but you can do it. I say Remote Explosive Mark III, which is an updated version. And like the concussion devices, you can use these to chain explosives. I mean, it's kind of more difficult to do in this case, but you can do it. Proximity Explosive Mark II. There's some tapping. Okay, I think I stopped it, hopefully. Okay, so this is the Proximity Explosive Mark III. So this is like a mine. Unusually for Mark II, it does not have a pink sticker on it. I say a remote flash device. This is a blinding device. So it's similar to like a flashbang sort of thing, but it's kind of used more like a mine or something like that. You can kind of time it and then you can run through a room, for example, and get by everyone in there. They don't get exactly suspicious because they don't really know what happened. There we are. Kronstadt Explosive Pen Gen 2. This is the one that was that I think you kill Mark Faber with in the one mission, the what was that, Sean Bean mission? So you kind of kill him initially with this, I think, and then later he comes back, and then you kill him however. Then you end up with the pen when it's finally actually finalized as the Gen 2. And the little flash is very interesting. This one has a picture, maybe 2 pictures, maybe 3 pictures, maybe 4. This one is this took up a lot of researching time, I will say, because I was really convinced I was going to find some identical thing. I was going to figure out why there was all this stuff about it, and I don't know if I really have. But what I will say is that there was a toy which was like this, which I have on screen. One of them, it's like blue. It looks very similar to this in a lot of ways. Then, which is basically a slightly modern version of an older robot, which is very much the same. But then there's a re-release kind of thing, which is the one I think I'm showing, which is like the blue one. But there's also one that was based on this robot, but came out around the time of Home Alone coming out. So this was like maybe a year or 2 after Home Alone came out. So because you get this from the Home Alone mission, right? So it kind of has some relation to that. And so I'm kind of thinking maybe this other one was some memory of some developer maybe, and they're then combining that kind of idea of the light bulb nose or the light bulb on it or whatever with the other one of the actual normal robot that it was kind of based off of, and they're kind of merging it so it has a lot of the look of the one robot, but then it has the sort of light bulb kind of thing of the other robot. Now they have Kronstadt, which is basically the same thing. Now there's some suggestion that maybe this is that maybe Kronstadt actually made the other robot as well, but it could also be that they're trying to get in a kind of cash grab kind of a way to make a profit off of some other company doing little flashes, so they've just jumped on that and tried to do a similar thing, made it a bit more high tech, and then thinking they're going to get a lot of success out of that. It's one or the other. Either they made both robots or they didn't. And this one is called XOI 2900. Now, like in 1998X, they do seem to add X just for marketing effects sometimes. So in this case, maybe it's IOI, kind of a reference, and they've replaced one of the I's with an X, just for marketing kind of a reason. In the lore, that is. But because it seems maybe it's a Christmas idea, that they're planning for it to be a sort of Christmas success, maybe X is more for Xmas, maybe. On to Mr. Chainsaw Jr. So this one I have a picture of Eminem doing the Slim Shady thing with the chainsaw and the hockey mask and whatever, which I don't think I mentioned on the prank pistol, but I'm pretty sure it has a hockey mask on it as well. But here there's a thing here. So Mr. Chainsaw seems to be, I guess, the name of the chainsaw, I guess. And so this is Mr. Chainsaw Jr. And so it's like a small, because it's a small chainsaw, basically. I think that's kind of it for that. Then there's Napoleon Bonaparte. So this one's a lot of research as well. So this one plays 1812 Overture, which is a reference to Napoleon failing to invade Russia, the 1812 Overture. And then it also is like a chubby, fat-headed Napoleon. And then it seems to like make a joke about him being a genius because he's got a large head because he's a genius or something. So, but it just seems a lot like insulting to Napoleon, I guess. And then the name, so a lot of that maybe they would see, maybe the target would see, maybe if you're going to use it in France or something, maybe people, you would get someone who doesn't really like Napoleon being mocked or something, so they'd kind of want to walk over and throw this thing away, maybe. But the thing is that its name is Napoleon Blown Apart, which they're not going to know, right? They're not going to ever know that. So this seems to be an internal thing in the design of this. Now, I don't think the ICA would care to just mock Napoleon for no reason, with no practical benefit at all. Okay, hello, I'm back. Now, I don't know what exactly I'm keeping in about the Napoleon Bonaparte, but basically, I'm going to shorten. Took a lot of research, but I'm just going to try and shorten it. A lot of it's mocking Napoleon, but the name also mocking him makes me think it's not because of the ICA, thinking there's some function in mocking him. I think it's probably Agent 47, who's, who listens to classical music. Maybe he listens to 1812. He's the 1812 Overture, which is what this plays. It's about kind of the Russian perspective of Napoleon failing to invade them, and they're happy about that. And maybe he, listening to that, takes that sort of a perspective. He's then, anti-Napoleon. He sees Napoleon as a sort of person he would take a contract on. So that's why there's a lot of mocking stuff maybe about Napoleon, because it actually comes from Agent 47, and also this sort of pun, sort of wry sort of a pun. It's very, very reminiscent of the sort of Agent 47 type of a pun. So that seems a fairly likely understanding of that. Remote Semtapes Demo Block Mark III. Now, there seems to be in the story a usage of this way before, like, maybe even the ICA or whatever. Maybe ICA, but like, maybe he left the ICA, maybe he rejoined it, maybe it was this, maybe it was that, but way in the past, whatever the exact situation was, way in the past, it seems Agent 47 was a fan of using this. Now, this is CX. Okay, CX. Composition 10. So it's not C4, right? It's CX, C10. So it's basically C4, okay? But it's like a high power version of C4, I guess. Remote concussion collector's duct. So this is basically a remote concussion duct, which I do not have, but it's basically a remote concussion duct. But he wanted to design a sort of more refined version of a duct and a more refined version of a outfit. He ended up having an idea of a more modern, refined outfit. And for the duck, I guess he does this. He doesn't want it to look too different. He still wants it to be noticeable to him at a glance, but he does add the tie, at least, and the implication of a shirt. Now, why does he pick the concussion duck? It's probably because he does think it's probably the more refined duck that he has, and explosive is not as refined of an option. The chainsaw duck. So again, this is something this is a target he's killed, so he puts him in a duck form. He does do that with a lot of targets, right? And so this is obviously based on the Slim Shady target that he kills, which is kind of going by what I'm saying. It's more of a therapy thing. Like it's quite an interesting mission, therefore, for him. So he makes a duck out of it. And then he does actually put his own suit on the duck, which may just be because he didn't know what color to make the duck exactly. Like I guess he makes it white. I guess it's a white duck, but he didn't maybe like how it looks. If it was just plain white, it looks too plain. It looks too unlike the target, maybe. Whatever the case, he does put the suit on the duck. Now this was an interesting one. This one took a lot of research because I wasn't satisfied with my initial statements about it. Because I actually started by saying, oh, it's just like all the duck ones is a target. So we create something to kind of remember the mission, whatever. I didn't like that because this is not a duck. Okay, all the others, they're on a duck. This is not a duck. So I was thinking about it and I was looking, and it does say in the kind of biography kind of section to the target, who is called Bosco, something Bosco, I forget his first name actually, but Bosco is the target. And it says that he was in sort of artsy kind of movies. He was not a fan of a lot of big blockbuster films. And so he ends up being one of the most famous sort of artsy kind of actors. He was a super big actor, but ends up kind of ending up a bit washed up because of his lifestyle, I guess. Now, why is this the case that this is not a duck? Now, I'm thinking, this is my thinking, that Agent 47 thinks that he's quite a good actor. Like Agent 47, he likes a lot of high culture kind of stuff, like I guess skiing, classical music, you know, whatever, wine. Probably he watches when he does. I guess when he does watch movies, maybe on the planes and stuff in between doing contracts, or if there are gaps in contracts. I guess he watches movies on occasion, at least. And the movie he would probably watch would be more artsy movies, which would probably have Bosco in them. And so he probably is pretty pro Bosco as an actor in that way. And so I think that this is kind of a long kind of headcanon explanation here, but let me read this. Agent 47 watched Bosco movies and were fond of them. And so when he's contracted to kill Bosco, then the movie is released because he's holding up production because he just keeps complaining, keeps saying, nope, we're not ending shooting yet, keep filming. So when you kill him and the filming does end and it goes into production and they end up releasing the movie, the Icon, this superhero character who he ends up trying to come back to have this big release, big comeback in films, because he ended up, even though he was a very famous actor, he did a lot of artsy kind of movies, he ended up a bit washed up. So he was trying to have this big comeback, a little bit kind of like Robert Downey Jr. a little bit, maybe, loosely, because it is kind of Iron Man-esque as well, if you see the look of him. So this was going to be his big comeback sort of superhero thing. And Icon and Iron, like Iron Man, it's kind of one letter off. Okay, anyway, so then there's, well, I didn't like that sound I made there. Okay, so then there is, the Icon becomes an icon, like he becomes really like famous, becomes really interested, people really like the character, even though the character was not so popular maybe in comics. When it became a movie, it becomes really popular. Again, a bit similar to Iron Man. Now, what happens then is that the people who hold the IP of the Icon, they release loads of merchandise about the Icon to capitalize off this success of the film, and the toys and the merchandise around the Icon explode, they become really popular. And so he makes this figurine around the Icon as a kind of bomb, which he just uses because it's like a actor who it's like an actor who he really liked becoming kind of immortalized in a character which maybe he doesn't care if it's a great character or not, because it's still his actor being immortalized in some way, like his favorite actor being immortalized in some way. But it could also be that there's the irony of a really artsy kind of a actor being by far mostly famous for a kind of not very artsy character in the Icon. Like it's literally just like a action superhero kind of movie. Like if you see him filming it, it's just explosions and aliens and whatever. Now, yeah, okay, I've got it written here. So, because it seems that Bosco wasn't happy with the direction they were taking the movie, they weren't going to make it so artsy, which maybe what Agent 47 would have liked as well as Bosco. And so maybe the reason he's made the figure is because it's a little bit ironic that one of his favorite actors was made immortal as like this shallow character, because he would always do artsy, really deep and complex characters, but he's actually then only really famous for a kind of one-dimensional shallow character. That took a lot of thinking about that one, but hopefully that's a fair enough reasoning there for why it's not a duck. Okay, this is like a flash. It's like a flashbang normally, but it's what it says here, flash grenade. But it's it's more like a club light. It's like those not exactly strobing, but those sort of pulsing club lights. Okay, so this is Pale Duck, which I think is supposed to be a bit like the Requiem suit, like the all-white kind of a suit. I guess he got a little red tie, but that kind of all-white suit, like a sort of ghost sort of thing, which I think is why it's called Pale, because you could call it the White Duck or something, but I think the reason why it's not called that and it's instead called the Pale Duck is because it's like pale like a ghost, or pale like you've seen a ghost, you know? So I think that's what that's sort of referencing there. So this is the raw flash grenade, which I think is during the hallucinations. There was kind of the final one is where he's, I guess, angry, or he's like a feral animal. He feels like a feral animal maybe, and so here he's got like a bear kind of a thing, And the reason why it's a blinding grenade is because, as it says here, the poor victim will feel its pure blinding rage. So it's this sort of take on blinding rage. So it's a blinding grenade. Serpent's bite. So a serpent's bite suggests temptation and then the pain from the consequences of that temptation. Now, it is remote activated. So that's interesting. And we're on to the suits. This is the final section. Now, I have to say, this was a lot of work for kind of for this, you know, and I think I'm going to do one more before freelance. I know that's a way away, I would say, quite a long way, but eventually we will do one again for this. So the suits are a bit more straightforward for the most part. There's not symbolic kind of meaning or some sort of lore that I maybe didn't know until researching, but some of this is really nice. There is something in here which is really tempting me, but I don't know how I would do it. So anyway, I'll get to that. This is 47 signature suit. This is a formal suit. I hope my mic level has been good, because I've kind of been looking down, I've been looking to the side, I've been looking up, left to right. So I hope it's not been all over the place. 47 suit. It's a formal suit, red tie, and the red tie suggests kind of blood, danger, rage maybe, though less so really with Agent 47. Then when there's Agent 48s, when he comes back to the hospital, there's Agent 48s, which are kind of his replacements. They kind of have a sort of orange kind of a tie, I guess. And the orange seems like maybe his creator, Altmaier, maybe went, oh, red maybe convinces them to be a bit more independent, which maybe he doesn't like, so orange suggests more like youth and energy rather than any rebellious sort of nature, which maybe red has a sort of rebellious, you know, psyche effect, maybe. So then we have the Absolution suit. Now this says the tie pin carries the ICA logo. Now if you know about the Absolution story, the story in Absolution, the ICA is a very important part of that, because he kind of rebels against the ICA and everything. But they mention it in the description, but on the actual tie itself, it actually has the clone insignia on it, not the ICA symbol, like it says, the logo. It does not actually have that. So the reason they mention it is, I think, is just because it's relevant to mention it as like a reference to the story of Absolution, the Phantom suit. Now this actually originally, I believe, came from Ghost mode, which was like the multiplayer mode in Hitman 2, which they kind of abandoned. I don't exactly know why, but I think it was they just didn't think it worked, and it wasn't getting much use either. I think people didn't play it that much, and they couldn't figure out how to make it mechanically work to be that engaging either. So I think they just left it. Now here we have the Requiem suit, which I mentioned before. Basically all white, but with the kind of stripy red tie. So this is like the thing where he's kind of like a ghost, but then he comes back, you know, like a ghost like you die and then you come back, because that's what a ghost is. And so he, in this case, is like a ghost, because it's like he's dead, but then he comes back. If you know the Blood Money ending, you know why that is. I'm probably gonna get around to playing through Blood Money and Absolution and everything, so if not, then eventually I'll play through it and you can know through that. Now this is the Crimson Red suit, so this is, I'm gonna mention them one last time as we go through the suits. There's a Trinity set of each color, red, white, and black. So the white is one symbolic reason, the red is another, and the black is another. Red is... Okay, hold on. Let me read the description Do you know what? I came up with this. I'm not even joking. I came up with this straight off the top of my head without even reading the description. I'll be honest. And I've just noticed the description. Let me read the description. For those who demand a bold and energetic style, the suit is an indicator of commitment, perseverance, and dedication, which is basically everything I've said about what the red suit represents. Okay, also, it does have the clone insignia on the tie. Premier white suit. Now this one says, an innovative take on an idea. It promises years of enjoyment for its owner. Again, I think that's very subtle, the description. But it kind of represents naivety and kind of how he's looking back and thinking, oh, how could I be so naive? And that's, I think, and the reason I mention that is because it says here, many years of enjoyment, because he's naive for so long without realizing it's sort of, blissful ignorance. And then it says, is continually relevant, because he's always thinking back, oh, how could I think that? How could I think that? Continually. There's never a moment where it just ends, which I think is a common feeling looking back and thinking, how could I be so stupid? But there we are. Ultimate black suit. This is the third one. A classic which will never go out of style. The suit is a celebration of fashion and was crafted by some of the best tailors in the business with more than 20 years of experience in their field. Again, as I said, and I didn't really read these descriptions, and so it's actually really nice to read them and see that they match up basically exactly with what I was saying. So the black kind of represents an experienced, knowledgeable, now I know kind of what the past was. I can look back and see that I was naive. I'm also not in the state of having this goal I have to pursue right now, like a red kind of outfit. It's instead the black kind of in the past, but also knowledgeable. I knew what it is, I'm experienced, I know. I'm not naive anymore, sort of a thing. Okay. Now, Blue Streak. I found out this was like a PlayStation thing. This is because of PlayStation. So what would that mean in the lore exactly? I don't know. Is the implication that in my universe he's like a PlayStation henchman or something? Like maybe. I don't know about that. Maybe he's just like PlayStation. I don't know. In this is the White Sunset. This one was actually originally I think the Stadia. Don't know if people know that, but it was like the Google streaming sort of thing. But I'm pretty sure Xbox and PlayStation shortly after jumped onto, let's do streaming sort of stuff. PlayStation had played around with it a bit, because I remember, I think there was PlayStation Now, which was a streaming thing, and I used to actually play that on a Blu-ray player. So it was a Blu-ray player, and I would play PlayStation games on it. Like, it had no discs in there, it had no anything, it was just purely Wi-Fi. You would play PlayStation games from their servers, I guess. And so they would already been dabbling in it a bit, but then the Stadia had came out. It was a big launch. It was trying to be a serious attempt to actually do that on the go, not just in a weird situation like at home on a Blu-ray player like me, but actually genuinely on your phone, like on a park bench. And I think it was successful at doing that, but it was terrible kind of, I think commercially. I don't think people really subscribed to it, and I mean, I don't think it actually did very well in that sense. And then when PlayStation and Xbox went into it a bit more themselves, it kind of collapsed. They shut it down, and therefore this exclusive Stadia suit, you have to kind of get rid of it, or you kind of have to give it to everyone. So they gave it to everyone. I mean, there's a challenge. They tied up with a challenge, I'm pretty sure, but you are Terminus. So this is one of the best missions from Absolution. Like, it's probably the most iconic mission from Absolution. where he's the one who they're trying to assassinate rather than him being the assassin assassinating them. They're the ones trying to assassinate him. They like throw him down, they knock him out, they pour petrol over the place or whatever it is. They burn the whole hotel down. I mean, it's very good. I'm pretty sure it's called the Terminus Hotel. But Terminus also kind of means final, like he's gonna die. He doesn't die. It's very good anyway. Continuing, tuxedo with gloves. This is the tuxedo I believe he wears to Paris. But this is like the one where he's kind of taken ownership of it, so he actually wears it with gloves because he's not doing it just as a disguise he's going to change out of. He's wearing it potentially to keep in that suit because he likes the suit. And so he's wearing gloves because he doesn't want, I guess, fingerprints all over the place. Not that he's really on record anywhere anyways, but even so, doesn't want to leave any forensic if he can help it. So this is Snow Festival, which he wore in the intro. I remember when he was joining the ICA in the intro section, he was wearing this. And I think he probably just wears it, anywhere cold. So in the mountain, secret facility, he wears it in Hokkaido or somewhere like that. He probably wears it. Then when he actually goes into the mission to go to the hospital, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I guess he gets snuck in as a patient, I guess. But whilst in the city in Hokkaido, maybe he was dressed like this. In the Snow Festival suit, now we have the casual suit with gloves. And this is the Bangkok suit. But again, he's kind of taken ownership of it. He's got saying, okay, maybe I'm going to just wear this, not as a disguise to slip in and be easily kind of blend into the background. I'm actually in Bangkok. I'm actually just going to wear this as an outfit, and I may take this to Paris, I may take this to Hokkaido, I may take this to Dubai. He just decides, yeah, actually I like this, I'm going to wear this more often. And in which case he may not change out of this, he may not, change disguise, be a guard, be whatever, and therefore he wears the gloves again for forensic reasons, probably, maybe. Midnight black suit. So this is the sort of refined suit. I think he was going for elegant and timeless. Again, I didn't read these. Elegant and timeless. This all black suit is made to make the wearer fit into any formal situation. Exclusively woven from the finest materials, the tireless suit is certain to impress. Yeah, the idea is like it's a ultra modern sort of refined kind of a suit. Like if you know about a lot of ultra modern fashion for men's suits, it's like all black like this. Smart casual suit. This is like a complete hodgepodge suit. Like it's it's an overcoat. It's like normal like smart trousers but they're pinstripe, which is very odd with like an overcoat a lot of the time. And then he's got a hoodie again, so it's just a complete mess of everything. Okay, so what else we got here? Tactical turtleneck. So this is he's in the cutscenes wearing this. He's also does wear it, I think, in the training mission. So in the training mission cutscenes, I'm hearing my family talking in the other room. But in the training mission cutscenes and in the training missions, he starts wearing this turtleneck. It's quite nice. I've heard actually the name Tactical Turtleneck is apparently a reference to Archer, the show, where they, I guess, mention tactical turtlenecks a lot. And like I've never seen that. I don't know what that's all about, but apparently that's kind of what that's a reference to. Raven suits. This is kind of like a suit for like a sniper. It's kind of hinting that it's a sniper kind of suit because it's a raven, but it's all black. And it's kind of suggesting of like being high up, looking down. That you're kind of a symbol of doom or death or something. There's also a bit of a reference, I guess, to like, it's similar to what I've just said, but it's the Raven, the poem, Edgar Allan Poe poem of the Raven says nevermore. Nevermore means like the end, right? Like you die and you're dead, and that's the end. In a sense, I mean, the Raven says nevermore over and over again, and the meaning slightly changes. If you have read that, but that is how that goes. I hope I've explained that well. What do I actually say here in my notes? I've actually kind of stopped reading my notes for the most part. I've gone off the top of my head to stuff I remember or whatever. Yeah, so can I go back to the other one first? So the Raven, it does seem to be related to a sniper. But yeah, there is actually a Sega 300 which seems directly related to this suit in some way. I forget exactly how, but there is. I think they were supposed to come out in a pack together or something, and then maybe that didn't end up happening, but it was how it was supposed to be anyway. Yeah, Edgar Allan poem related to dying, or in this case, killing. Okay, Freedom Phantom suit. It's some game called Freedom Fighters. I tried to look for a picture. I couldn't find any good pictures of it, but there is apparently an old game called Freedom Fighters that suit is from. Winter sports suit. This seems to be his old ski gear, maybe from the 80s even. This is like old gear. Cowboy suit. Now this one I will leave up here because I know this is from Parker, which is like a film with Jason Statham in it, and he's like a thief who disguises as a cowboy, I think, in the movie. So it's kind of fitting that he would dress up as a cowboy as a disguise, because in the film it's also a disguise. A Lynch suit, definitely live in this one. So this one was the one I was kind of tempted, like, would I play Kane and Lynch 2, really? Would I play Kane and Lynch though? Because they're really good, actually, I think. I think they're very, very good. There's also a thing where, and this is important actually, I've got it written down here. In Blood Money, they're shown in the newspaper. Okay, so there was this famous feature of Blood Money where after the levels they would have a newspaper show up and it would describe the way you played and whatever as the main article, but you could zoom in and look at the other articles, which would be other things. Anyway, in one of those, and it's pretty sure it's like the first one, I'm pretty sure, it's something like that, but it would show Kane and Lynch have escaped from prison or something, or escaped from the prison blast or something like that, and that's in the newspaper. So it kind of suggests that they are actually the same universe, and so him dressing up as Lynch is like him basically dressing up as a famous criminal, like he's like in this universe, like Lynch is a famous criminal, like, because the FBI are after him and everything. So that is probably what's going on here, is that he's dressing up as someone else who is famous. I think that should make sense. So this is Futo suit. Now this is a ninja, mini ninjas thing. So I've got it on the screen there, mini ninjas, and this chubby guy in the background who is what this suit is based on. Then the Archean suit, which is based on the eyes wide shut VIP guy. Wait, hold on. You look like a VIP wearing this, that's what I've written. So it's kind of like a elite guard, but the cape is blue, the mask kind of got some gold on it. Like that. Now you have the Blue Flamingo. Now the Blue Flamingo, I've done some thinking about this. It says it's bought at a yard sale, right? I've done some thinking, and this is what I've come up with. So, it suggests that the race organizers bought the rights to the blue flamingo as a like mascot or something for marketing reasons or whatever. They bought the rights to it, right? That forces others to use like a blue flamingo or other kind of ridiculous colors for a flamingo. And if you look into the general sense of the law, it seems that probably Kronstadt, who is a sponsor of the races, they may have kind of given the money over to let the race organization buy the rights to the pink flamingo as a mascot, as a sort of way of trying to gain favor in this kind of underhanded way, like Kronstadt does a lot, and like paying to get the rights in this exclusive way would be a kind of unhanded way of doing that. So then we have Kronstadt always seem to just go over the line with ethical behavior. That's, I think, a fair assessment of that. Clown suits. This is Corky the Clown from Blood Money, as we went over. And even in Blood Money, like he would stand there completely no smile or anything, and they would still find him hilarious. Krampus suits, and this kind of suggests that he is helping Krampus go after bad people, I guess. Yeah, it says they're good for scaring the naughty boys and girls in the Christmas period or something, it said. Okay, Little House Above 47. So this is basically the same thing, but with a little spin on it, which is kind of suggestion that he is doing the secret work that actually makes the world joyous, and then he is the one who makes the gifts for people, in the sense that he's like, the gift is that this terrible person isn't doing terrible things anymore, I guess. But also it's kind of the inversion of this one without it actually inverting, because he's going after the bad people and he's giving a gift by going after the bad people. That's kind of, so it's kind of like the same kind of thing. Like he's giving a gift to the good people by going after the bad people, and he's just going after the bad people. So it's kind of the same thing. Santa 47, a common disguise if you think about it. And it also has a suggestion of him like sneaking into buildings, or him being like the source of Christmas magic. And it also is similar to his way of his job, where he's kind of doing stuff secretly. He's trying not to be seen. There's a kind of play on that a bit. I don't know what that description is kind of trying to say. Okay, so this, I think I do have a picture of this guy actually. So this is Hunk from Resident Evil. This is like a guy in all the gear, you know. And it does protect you against the gases from the Resident Evil mission, but I think other gases you aren't protected from. Urban Maverick, this is based on Leon from the Resident Evil games. Then you have the MC fit. This is Eminem, right? I mean, he should be on the screen. One of his looks, where he's got the cap, he's got the gold chain, he's got the, well, he might not have the gold chain, but he's definitely got that jacket on. Only overalls again. I can basically bring up the picture from earlier probably, but this one, you know, hockey mask, overalls. Okay, yellow tracksuit. This is obviously Bruce Lee. In the lore, though, it's probably the same. Wherever Agent Lee trains, they all wear yellow tracksuits, probably. Master Martial Artist. So this is the leader of the Concord Union. he kind of wears this, and so you kind of take that off of him. I guess when you kill him, you kind of do that. The Banker King of Cards. So this is based on the Banker's outfit, but it's got all these kind of suit patterns on it, like card suits. It's got that as a pattern all over the suit and tie. Banker's suit. So this is his actual suit, and then this is like he's kind of got like a tuxedo sort of thing, whereas this is like unbuttoned and whatever. Because it's based on, let me read my notes here, based on the Casino Monarchique with playing card designs. That's what it says. This one based on the Chiffre's suit, and then this one says, and this one I'll leave up, Van Damme movie Kickboxer reference. As you can see by the picture, it's quite hard to find a picture of him in that, even though I'm pretty sure there's a few scenes he does wear it. But that is him in the kind of boxing robes, black and red boxing robes. Then the Strup's fur coat. Now I could only find him in like a white fur coat with some trousers which do look a bit similar to those. So I probably have those up, one of those pictures up now. But yes, McGregor in the fur coat and whatever trousers that is. Maybe it's like Irish tartan or something, I don't even know. Club Boom DJ suit, which is kind of like some DJs, they wear this sort of light up mask. Like I think I wore this once and I mentioned Deadmau5, but you know, Daft Punk do this. I'll probably have a couple pictures up showing it. And then ephemeral suit with the eye patch. So this is the I think Sean Bean character. When after you kill him using the pen on his eyeball, he comes back with the eye patch. And then when you actually kill him, I guess finally, you maybe dress up as him if you want to. Rapacious suit. So rapacious does mean like aggressive type of greed. It's like a predatory sort of a greed, which is fitting considering that hallucination. This is the Narcissus suit, and Narcissus was the person who fell in love with his own reflection, and so his suit is full of mirrors, which I think I wrote were kind of the shape of the peacock eye shape that's in their feathers. Lotophage suit. So lotophage means lotus eaters, which is from the Odyssey. And they after eating the lotuses, they just don't want to do anything. They do not want to fight, they do not want to go back home, they do not want to do anything. They don't want to go anywhere, they don't want to work, they don't want to do anything. So that's fitting. Scarlet suit. So this is supposed to be sort of like a snake skin pattern. Again, the snake sort of being the serpent, which is representing temptation. Profligacy suit. So it's just way over the top. I mean, there's all these golden symbols on it. There's all these golden patterns on it. He's got a cape. I mean, why does he have a cape? I mean, it's like, you know, he doesn't have a cape with like almost anything else. Basically, he doesn't have a cape. And then here he's got a cape. He's got golden pattern all over the suit. He's got. I mean, it's just way too much, which is obviously the point. It's got like royal. I think it says here it's got like a sort of royal aristocratic sort of design on the suit, which is just too much. It's just more, right? Then odium. So odium means a sort of disgust or contempt for what someone's done. And in this case, it also sort of shows like someone who kind of wants to have a good suit or something. They want to have a nice suit, but I guess they can't really do that until they end up just wearing a hoodie. Oh, it says here, suit for those who covet the look of high-end streetwear, or high-end streetwear for the look of those who covet the look of a suit. It's obviously, I think, the latter there, because they want to have, or not exactly either, actually rereading that. It's basically, he wants to have a nice suit, right? But he can't, which again, it's the sort of, he's envious of the people who can. Temper suit. So again, I'll leave this one up because I know this is like the Terminator 2 outfit. I think I should have a pretty good picture for this. Now this is like the Terminator outfit, but this has a more sort of feral bear-like design, which is again kind of the idea of the Wrath hallucination. So it says, never lose your cool, elegant ensemble consisting of stylish rock neck sweater, roll neck sweater, not rock neck, a black leather coat, but it clearly isn't really black leather. In Terminator, it is black leather. Like, I mean, not the picture I've got, but typically it is. With pants to match, again, is black leather with the actual Terminator suit, so you can see where the inspiration is there, given the description. Pair of gloves, and you won't have to worry when the situation gets out of control. So again, it's like the Terminator suit, but it's slightly over-modeled. Like it's inspired by that, but it's also inspired by the idea of a sort of feral animal bear sort of thing with Wrath. Now, the actual Wrath mission, the escalation, it's actually called the Wrath Termination. You know, like it's a Terminator, so again, that plays into it. Then the graffiti hood. So this is, again, the graffiti. This is kind of the final graffiti design in that sort of motif. This is a sort of thing maybe they would wear around Berlin. Maybe not in the club necessarily, but around the club. They might wear something like this. And this... Okay, so let me read my note on this. This is literally the last thing. The video is very nearly over. Let me read what I've got written here. Okay, let me read this. This is a damn bin bag, bruh. That's what I've got written here. Now, I then have in brackets, because I literally just wrote that when I looked at it, but then I've researched it, and then I've got in brackets, actually it's leather. So apparently that is leather. I mean, it seems, it just looks like a bin bag to me. That is literally everything. I mean, we've literally gone over everything. It's a very long video of just me kind of talking. So there we are. I will say we will now be doing the Silent Assassin suit only. Whew. That was a lot. And now I've actually got to go and edit this and put all these pictures in. Oh man. Anyways. My mouth's drying out. I'm going to need another drink as well. So, goodbye.